We visited Berlin and Leipzig in December 2023, thinking we'd have the best Christmas holiday experience. Let me share what we could have done differently while walking you through our trip to Germany, starting with Berlin. Hotel Look, an autograph collection located in mid-Berlin, is a chic boutique hotel where you can earn Marriott Bonvoy points. We stayed in a corner suite, which was fantastic in every way. We were in Germany from December 23rd through the 31st. The goal was to soak in the holiday vibe, knowing the weather might not be the best. From the moment we landed, we felt something was off. You'll find out what we mean, so stay tuned. The first place that we visited was one of the well-known Christmas markets. On the way to get there, we were caught off guard by how quiet the streets were. The market was cute, with shops, music, food, and of course, Glühwein. There were quite a few people, but not as many as I had expected, knowing Christmas was only 2 days away. They were selling bratwurst and cooking it the authentic way using charcoal. I was not hungry, so I did not get it, but I still regret I didn't try one. It looked so good. A lot of stores were selling Christmas ornaments. I didn't put up a Christmas tree. Otherwise, I would have been tempted to get a lot of them. Some of the stuff they were selling were pretty cool, although they were pricey. To tell you the truth, we were surprised that many Christmas markets were closed, and it was only December 23rd. Then we realized that we hadn't done enough research on one important detail: how quiet everything gets during Christmas week in Germany and rest of Europe. The next day was Christmas Eve. The entire city felt like a scene from a post-apocalyptic movie. It took us a while to find a restaurant that was open. We found a restaurant that was open and enjoyed a traditional German breakfast, of course with some cocktails, which was lovely. After a quick bite, we went to see the Brandenburg Gate. It was good that there weren't many people, but it was still rainy and gloomy. In 1806, when Napoleon invaded Berlin, he took the bronze sculpture of a horse and chariot just above the Brandenburg Gate. After he was defeated, the statue was returned from Paris, and an iron cross was added to signify victory. There was a huge 49 feet tall Christmas tree, but it looked like they had already started taking down the ornaments. We then walked to the Holocaust Memorial, which was free and open to all. The weather created an atmosphere that allowed us to reflect and offer our condolences to those who were sacrificed. After lengthy debates in 1999, the German parliament decided to establish a central memorial site, the Memorial to the Murdered Jews of Europe. The sheer size of the installation and the fact that it doesn't have a single central point challenge what we typically think of as a memorial. It creates a space for remembrance, but in a totally different way than we're used to. Next, we walked to the Riksdag, the home of the German parliament and Germany's second most visited attraction. Unfortunately, we couldn't get inside due to the holiday. We walked by the library of the German Bundestag. This futuristic, modern building is not open to the public except on the Bundestag open day in September. We then headed to the Berlin Wall Memorial, one of the most significant memorials dedicated to the Berlin Wall. It extends along 1.4 kilometers of the former border strip and contains the last piece of the Berlin Wall within the preserved grounds behind it. Like the Holocaust Memorial, it was a very emotional experience as an individual who was born and raised in Korea. It would have been great to have a tour guide who could provide some more context and explanations though. Misty Berlin looked pretty magical though. We were still excited by thoughts of Christmas and the end of the year. Christmas Eve continued with rain. and we had a hard time finding restaurants or bars that were open. We walked to this cool courtyard nestled between buildings where a Christmas tree stood alone. And then we found such a cool landmark next door. Mokta, also known as the Museum of Contemporary Trash Art, is a must-visit for street art enthusiasts. We spent some time taking it all in, as there was so much hidden within the massive amount of street art. I kind of like the boldness of them sending political and social messages through street art and graffiti. Berlin's street art culture is really tied to city's history. After the Berlin Wall fell in 1989, the reunited city became a hotspot for artists from all over the globe. Those blank concrete walls turned into canvases for expressing political and social messages, creating one of the most vibrant street art scenes in the world. From bold political statements to abstract pieces and everything in between, Berlin street art showcases the city's diversity, creativity, and ever-changing vibe. Still cold and rainy, with barely anyone on the streets, we found a small Christmas market near Alexanderplatz, but it was nearly deserted. With nothing else open, we returned to the hotel for a drink. Lesson learned: avoid Christmas week to visit Germany. Most places will be closed, and the weather will probably be gloomy. Christmas markets start closing before Christmas Day, and many street decorations and trees are taken down before the holiday. For the full Christmas vibe, visit Germany at least 1 or 2 weeks before Christmas. Merry Christmas! It was finally Christmas Day. We decided to visit Hamburger Bahnhof Museum, and it was totally worth it. One of the highlights. We took the subway to get there. One thing to keep in mind is that no one checks your tickets right away, but you'd better pay up because ticket inspectors show up randomly. If they catch you without a ticket, it will cost you a €50 fine. We finally got to Hamburger Bahnhof Museum. It holds one of the largest and most significant public collections of contemporary arts in the world. When you step into this classic-looking museum, you're welcomed by a whole new world of contemporary art. They had these incredible inflated organ sculptures by Eva Fabregas. The pieces intertwine with the hall's beams, creating a surreal impression of organs growing from the metallic framework, turning the space into a breathing organism. It was really cool to see the unique architecture of the museum. It was originally built as a train station in the mid-19th century. There was an exhibit by Liu Fan, a Korean artist living in Japan. I couldn't believe how this 88 years old artist creates such minimalistic yet powerful work that focuses on process, materials, and the experiential engagement of the audience. It was fascinating to learn about his story and context in the exhibit. We loved every piece of his artwork that we encountered. Liu Fan influenced the development of modern art in Korea and Japan. He has built a body of artistic achievement across a wide range of mediums, including painting, printmaking, sculpture, installation art, and art criticism. He was also a professor at Tama Art University in Tokyo from 1973 to 2007. He became the third East Asian artist to be given a solo exhibition at the Guggenheim Museum in New York City, confirming his position as a leading figure in the contemporary art world. I really enjoyed his paintings and experimental artwork. This museum used to be a train station, and they've beautifully incorporated that history into the space with various artworks. There were many other impressive masterpieces throughout the museum. I was truly amazed by the incredible collection of modern pieces in so many different forms. I felt blessed to have seen them in person. Personally, it was a life-changing experience. I highly recommend it. Berlin has over 150 museums and galleries, and many are world-class, like this one. So it's worth doing some homework to select your favorites before you come. Afterwards, we headed to the Ritz-Carlton for a high tea experience. Traditional afternoon tea is priced from 75 euros, and if you want to add a glass of champagne, it would be 14 euros per person. The experience was pretty legit. If you love high tea, you will love this place. We started with an award-winning champagne, followed by high-end teas. They had an amazing selection of teas, and their specialty was pastries. In the evening, we attended a performance of Sleeping Beauty by the Berlin State Ballet at Deutsche Oper Berlin. It was a spectacular experience. It was well worth booking it 6 months in advance. We visited the News Museum in the Museum Island, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, which consists of 5 world-renowned museums. I was impressed by how the museum design blends the past and the present, with original bricks and shards incorporated into the space. The museum's collection of ancient artifacts, especially the Egyptian exhibit, was mesmerizing. The News Museum first opened in 1855, but it was heavily damaged during World War II. After being abandoned for decades, it reopened in 2009. The museum is definitely worth a visit, featuring beautifully restored frescoes, renowned columns, and even some preserved war damage. I saw thousands of ancient artifacts from various collections. Germany ended up having lots of Egyptian collections due to the recommendation of Alexander von Humboldt, a German geographer, in 1828 to King Frederick William III, who was the King of Prussia in 1800. And Prussia was a German kingdom. It is considered a precursor and a part of modern-day Germany. Okay, enough of the history lecture. One of the highlights was the bust of Queen Nefertiti, one of the world's most famous ancient sculptures. It was one of the most incredible museum sites to behold. The bust of Nefertiti was created around 1340 BC and found in 1912 in the city of Achat Aton, now known as Amarna. Ever since, Egypt has been requesting the return of the treasure since 1924, when it was first displayed to the public. Next, we attempted to visit the Urban Nation Museum, but despite their website saying it was open, it was closed. After a quick Aperol Spritz and one of the best Bloody Marys at a cafe across the street, which also sells kimchi croissants, we went to a nearby Vietnamese restaurant for a warm soup. When I travel, I always crave Asian food, especially Korean food. So David finds Asian restaurants for us to visit regardless of where we are. Thank God that we both love Asian food. Streets were empty and stores were closed, but we were still having fun. We continued to enjoy Sleepy Berlin at Monkey Bar, a rooftop bar with a panoramic view of Berlin. From the terrace, you can see the Berlin Zoo and the city skyline while enjoying cocktails and bar bites. Watching the zoo from above can actually be a lot of fun, especially when it's crowded with visitors. The evening in Berlin was beautiful. Rain had stopped and air was crisp. We could see Museum Island beautifully lit up across the river. We wandered to the Christmas market at Berlin City Hall in Mitte. The market was full of music, food, and craft vendors bustling with people who were trying to enjoy the last bite of Christmas vibe. This was probably one of the largest Christmas markets we visited, next to the one in Prague. We could see the Berlin TV tower from the market too. There was an ice rink and rides, which added to the festive atmosphere and left us with beautiful memories. This ride gave me such a strong nostalgia feeling that made my heart warm. Everything looked beautiful, and everyone looked happy. The night was young. On the way back to our hotel, we stopped at the lounge bar at Hotel Titanic. I love that the bar is open for 24 hours. The bartender whipped up some amazing cocktails for us to enjoy. Since we were the only people at the bar, we basically had the private bar experience, which was pretty nice. The hotel lobby was beautiful with a big Christmas tree in the middle. It was time for us to go to bed to recharge for the next day. The next day, we took an Uber to the Charlottenburg Palace, the largest and most significant palace complex in Berlin. Built at the end of 17th century, it was expanded throughout the 18th century. We toured both old and new wings. The palace was filled with Baroque and Rococo styles, lavish decor, and extensive art collections. Each room had its own unique style, characterized by luxury and attention to detail. My favorite part was the porcelain cabinet in the old palace, which is filled with stunning blue and white porcelain. This room, designed in 1706, reflects the trend of owning Chinese and Japanese porcelain, showcasing the wealth and prestige of the royals. Porcelain was prized for its exotic origins, especially as Marco Polo first brought it to Europe from China in the 14th century. It was considered a rare and luxurious item, often mounted in the gilt silver to emphasize its preciousness in the 18th century. The palace chapel was one of the most luxurious chapels I've ever seen. It is a stunning example of Baroque architecture and design. Adorned with intricate details, the chapel features a beautifully vaulted ceiling, richly decorated with frescoes that depict heavenly scenes. The walls are lined with elegant moldings and ornate carvings, showcasing the craftsmanship of the time. The intricate artwork, attention to detail, and the golden crown at the center were simply breathtaking. Its beauty and historical significance makes it a must-see when visiting Charlottenburg Palace. The Red Velvet Room, an impressive collection of the luxurious royal porcelain, and even the view outside the window all looked beautiful. Charlottenburg Palace has around 700 rooms. Originally built as a summer residence for Sophie Charlotte, the wife of Frederick I, King of Prussia, in the late 17th century, it became the largest and most important palace in Berlin. The palace is surrounded by beautifully landscaped gardens inspired by the French formal style, featuring fountains, statues, and meticulously trimmed hedges. We also visited the Grand Ballroom, where banquets were held, and I could almost imagine the well-dressed royal guests dancing and socializing. During World War II, the palace suffered significant damage, but restoration efforts have preserved much of its original beauty and opulence. After the palace, we had a fantastic Italian lunch at Opera Italiana across the street. That evening, we went out for shopping with full of people enjoying the last-minute Christmas shopping. We dined at Ushido, a Japanese yakiniku barbecue restaurant. We ordered a few different cuts of the best Wagyu beef in town. We had Japanese shoju and enjoyed buttery, flavorful beef, cooking it at the table like you do for Korean barbecue. It's definitely not cheap, but it was a worthwhile dining experience in Berlin. It was a great way to end the night. If you enjoyed the content, please like and subscribe and leave comments about your experience in Berlin. Stay tuned for the next part of our journey in Leipzig. It's a must-visit place when traveling to Berlin. So see you soon. Bye bye!